If you transported yourself back to the Soviet Union 50 years ago and you were thirsty, what kind of soda could you buy? Well, you could buy this electric green concoction called Tarkhuna, sometimes called Tarhun, and it's still available in countries like the Ukraine, Baltic countries like Estonia and Latvia, and even its home country of Georgia, where it was invented in 1887 by a pharmacist named Mitrofan Lagadizi. And luckily, I have a recipe, not by Mitrofan, but from the Soviet Union in 1986. So this is an actual patent from that time period, and it gives a formula for Tarkhuna. So I'm going to show you how to make that one today. It's pretty simple. It's quite interesting. It's kind of herbal and vanilla, but once you figure out how to make it, it's an excellent starting point for non-alcoholic drinks that taste different than your standard cola product. So stick around and I'll show you how to do it. I'm Darcy O'Neill and this is Art of Drink. And today I just want to show you how easy it is to make soda. And Tarkhuna is a good one to do because it's interesting. But I'm basically going to make my soda essence, I'm going to make my syrup, and I'm going to make my soda all in one go here and pretty much in real time. So stick around if you want to see how easy it is to make soda, because once you could learn how to do this, it opens up a whole new world of flavors to play with. If you haven't watched any of my previous videos, check them out. It's basically a free course on how to make soda. So there's a playlist that will teach you about parts per million and how to work with essential oils safely and where to find regulations if you don't know how much you're allowed to use. So go check those out. And if you need additional information like suppliers, check out my Patreon page. I provide all my supplier information there, as well as a calculator to calculate out parts per million and other little perks to help make soda making easy, because it really is, and you should try it. So some really brief history on Tarkhuna. Obviously, that's just the Georgian word for tarragon, and tarragon is related to wormwood. So wormwood is Artemisia absinthium, and tarragon is Artemisia druncoculus. So there is some relation, though tarragon does not have any thujone, so you don't have to worry about it. But you do have to use it at less than 10 parts per million. Now, when I make the soda, I've done all the calculations for you, so don't worry about that. But there are some regulations about how much tarragon, and it's specifically estragol, the oil in tarragon, which makes up somewhere between 60 and 75% of tarragon oil. It's one of those things you have to work with, but if you follow the formula I give you, everything is perfectly within limits, and it tastes delicious. And if you don't like tarragon, don't worry about that, because when you mix it with the other ingredients like the lemon oil, the vanilla, it creates something unique. Kind of like Coca-Cola, where you can't really identify any specific flavor. It might not be that complex, but when you drink it, it tastes different than any of the components that you put in it. And that's the neat thing about soda, is creating new flavors. Let's just get started on how to make it, because it's really simple. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make your essence. Now, if you have hardwood that's finished, I highly recommend putting something down between it, because essential oils will eat right through that finish. I just use a 120 ml bottle, and we're going to add our tarragon oil. Now I use disposable pipettes, and I'm going to add 4 mils to this bottle, and eventually we're going to add alcohol to bring it up to 120 mils. But this is the level, so 4 mils of tarragon oil will get you close, just slightly below 10 parts per million of estragol. So that's kind of the maximum amount. And if you want to adjust this formula, you can. You can always use less, just don't use more. So once we have that, I'm going to add lemon oil. Now this is 5-fold, so it's more soluble in soda or soda syrup, but it's stronger in flavor than straight lemon oil. So I'm only going to add 2.5 mils of this. If you're using regular lemon oil, you use 4 mils. But again, this is just an example, and this one works out well. I've obviously made this a few times just to test it out. 2.5. Now you don't have to add lemon oil. You don't have to add anything other than the tarragon oil. But the lemon referenced in some of the early recipes, they actually reference lemon balm. So again, if you're into absinthe, you'll know lemon balm or Melissa is used in it. If you like more of a fennel flavor, if you do like that licorice flavor, don't add more tarragon. You can use star anise or sweet fennel or anise seed. So use those, they can increase it, but you can also use any other flavor. Just don't go above 10 mils of oil in your essence. So now to finish the essence, we're just going to add the alcohol. Now just give it a shake and you have basically made a soda flavoring essence. It's effectively clear. It's one of those things that once you learn how to make them, they're really simple. You can make them more water soluble, but since some of the components in this, specifically estragol, are soluble in water, it's not so important that we make a soluble extract like I show in my other videos. This will work actually perfectly fine for today. But every once in a while, just make sure you give it a shake to recombine stuff if it does start to separate. Now, the next step is we're going to make our syrup. And for this, you just want to weigh out the ingredients, but we're going to need 7.5 grams of citric acid. We're going to need 1.5 grams of ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. You can usually buy it at health food stores or online. I believe they put that in there as kind of a preservative to help extend the life of the soda because it's an antioxidant. And then you're going to need 0.5 gram to 3/4 gram of vanillin. And you can use vanilla. You'd need 20 to 30 mils of vanilla extract for this. But if you're using the powder, again, you can get it online. You can get vanillin. Some people call it vanillin. And it is basically the key component in vanilla. You can also get ethyl vanillin. I thought this one is stronger, and it has a slightly different flavor. I use both, so I put 0.4 grams of vanillin, and then 0.2 grams of ethyl vanillin, and so 0.6 grams total. And I find that creates a more balanced flavor. But if you want to use vanilla beans, you can. If you want to use vanilla extract, you can. You're just going to need to use 20 to 30 mils of it in your syrup. And that color is going to change your electric green color that this product's known for. For this, I usually just add the vanilla first because we have to dissolve it. It doesn't dissolve that well in water. So just get it into your beaker. You can use propylene glycol. You can use alcohol. You can use glycerin if you want. It will dissolve in warm water, but it just takes a while. So if you can't get it dissolved, just pop it in the microwave for a couple minutes and it'll be fine. I find the easiest solution is to just add a small amount of alcohol. And usually we'll get it started. Now while that's dissolving, we're going to add our essence. And we only need 2 milliliters of this. So that's all we need, 2 mils. And that is, you'll be surprised at how much flavor that actually adds to the soda. And so we're just gonna let this dissolve. It's working its way. It's pretty much almost there. And then we're gonna add the simple syrup, and then we'll add our acids. If you add the acids now, they won't dissolve in the alcohol that well. So get in your simple syrup, and I use 3 to 2 simple syrup. If you want a less sweet drink, use 1 to 1 simple syrup. And if you want your drink to be slightly sweeter, use 2 to 1 simple syrup. I use 3 to 2 because it's just easy to mix and what they used at the soda fountain. We're gonna go up to about the 480 mil mark on this. So that should be pretty good. Now let that stir, and you may have little bits, as I mentioned, of the vanillin. It will dissolve eventually, but if you find that it's too cold, just heat this up in a microwave for 30 seconds or whatever, and it'll all dissolve. Now I'm gonna add the citric acid. Or that was actually the ascorbic acid. Now I'm adding the citric acid. And again, it will take a few minutes for this to dissolve just because the syrup is obviously very viscous, so you just need to let the water dissolve it. It will go into solution, no problem. It just takes a little bit of time. But if you're impatient, again, microwave's your friend. And if you don't have a stirring plate, that is fine. You can use a spoon or any mixing device for this. But stirring plates, if you get into soda making, are really handy. They'll do all the work for you. You can go clean dishes while this is doing its thing. Now, if you want this electric green color, it's totally artificial. You have to use food dye to get that. Using the fresh herbs, though it will come out green momentarily, eventually the chlorophyll in these herbs turns brown over a day it oxidizes, and this will be an ugly brown color. You don't actually need to add any dyes or colorings to this. It will taste exactly the same. But if you do like the green color, go for it. Just buy some green food dye and you'll have proper Tarkhuna. So now that your syrup is completed for your Tarkhuna, an interesting fact is that the Hittites, who were a tribe in northern Turkey, had a god named Tarkhuna, who was their god of thunder like Zeus or Thor. And Draculunkus, which is the tarragon's Latin name, means little dragon or dragon. What you end up with is a thunder dragon soda. So if you ever want to have something interesting on a menu, an interesting name, it works out with the etymology. So let's make a soda because it's really simple now. We do need some soda water, and you do need an 8-ounce glass. So put roughly 6.5 ounces in there, just leave a little room for foam. And we're gonna add 25 mils, 22 to 25 mils, roughly 3/4 of an ounce to the drink. Now, if you want to get a darker color, obviously you just have to add more dye, but I'm fine without it, to tell you the truth. And if you want to garnish it, you can garnish it with a sprig of tarragon. But let me tell you how it tastes. It is unique. It has this subtle herbal element, but the vanilla comes through and so does the lemon. So you got 3 things going on. The acidity is mild. It's not as abrasive as some other drinks. If you wanted to increase it, you could add acid phosphate or more citric acid. You'd probably double the amount of citric acid you put in this if you want a far more acidic drink. But this one's really pleasant. The lemon's nice and subtle, but it's there. I could drink these. And if you're looking for non-alcoholic drink recipes, these things are awesome for it. Like bars that actually have a soda program, you can attract a lot more customers. If you don't want an alcoholic drink, but you want something interesting, definitely give this a try. And obviously, as I say, every time I do these, there's lots of room to play with. If you like more anise in it, and you really don't get any anise flavor in it, maybe a little bit, but not much, you can always add some. And this is how you build your soda. But literally that took 15 minutes, and I went from essence to soda, and you have enough in this bottle, or this beaker here, once you put it in a bottle, to make 2 to 3 liters of soda. You can prep it pretty easily for parties, for behind the bar. You can make bigger batches. Again, just scale everything up. If you want to make a liter, just double everything I did. I will put all the recipe and stuff on Patreon and some of it below. If you have any questions, let me know. I will try to answer. But this is a fantastic drink, so give Tarkhuna a try. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.